You need to be a little louder. I think we are unable to catch up with Akshita. So I do have some hands raised up. Adya Harikrishnan. Adya, you are among our earliest joiners today. Thank you so much for coming in. Please tell us which class are you in, where are you from? And then tell us why are we thinking about not to breathe?
Because there's a lot of air pollution. If we breathe in the polluted air, we'll fall sick.
Oh, I see. So, so that means polluted air is harmful for us, right? And can anyone tell us why is the polluted air harmful for us? Oh, we have Sanya again. And who else? I want some fresh hands. Okay, Divyesh Raja. Divyesh, why do you think we should not breathe in polluted air? What can it do to us?
Because can you say it again? Can you say it again? I didn't hear it properly.
We can hear you.
No, can you say it again?
So I'm saying that how do you think polluted air can harm us?
If, for example, if you use vehicles like using your car and using your engines too much, the smoke will come out of your engine behind, and that causes air pollution.
But what happens if you end up breathing that smoke?
You will fall sick and you get diseases and often.
Yeah, okay. So I think that in order to learn a little more about this problem, we have organized this session today. We have very distinguished guests with us in our current session. Our first speaker for the day will be Shambhavi Shukla, and our next speaker for the day will be Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. I will first invite Shambhavi to tell us what is air pollution and what are its constituents and how it ends up damaging us. We will then listen to Dr. Bagai in great detail on learning about the medical aspects of it and how it affects the health of little children like you and people like us. So, Shambhavi, I would request you to please please come over and give your presentation. A little about Shambhavi is that Shambhavi is one of my dear colleagues in CSE, which is the Center for Science and Environment. She is a program manager in our CSE's Clean Air and Sustainable Mobility program. She holds a master's degree in environmental studies from TERI. She has 7 years working experience related to air quality management, mobility, policy issues, and she supports our national and global programs. So I request Shambhavi to please come in and tell us what air pollution is really about.
Hi, so very good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Anubhuti. So I'll directly jump to my presentation now.
Sure.
Let me just share my screen. So today I will just tell you about what exactly air pollution is, how it is caused, what are the steps that we can do, and how we can reduce our exposure to this air pollution. So when you define what is air pollution is, it occurs when the air contains gases, liquids, and solids in harmful amount. So there is a standard that is fixed by our central government. But then most of the cities in India are not following those standards and they are exceeding those standards by maybe 2 times or maybe 3 times. So these are the variety of sources that is present right now in India. So one is the natural sources that occurs naturally, for example, dust pollution. So like if you have seen in the state of Rajasthan, Rajasthan is mainly polluted because of the natural dust which is present. And also at the same time, we have man-made sources of pollution. For example, emissions which are coming out from the automobiles, industries, waste burning, construction dust, and the stubble burning that happens. There are also other variety of sources such as coal burning and stuff. So where exactly and what kind of pollutants are being released from these sources are like sulfur dioxide, volatile organic compounds, nitrogen oxides. We have PM 2.5 and PM 10. So PM 2.5 is the particulate matter, the particles which are less than 2.5 micron size. So you can imagine the size of this particles which are less than the even one of the hair strands also. So if the particles are these small, so you can easily breathe those particles in and it can highly damage your lungs. So I'll give you a broad impact on how your health is being impacted because of breathing the polluted air in the cities. Is like there is a problem of breathing issues, and also at the same time asthma, bronchitis, maybe some heart disease, and also stroke, which can lead to like while breathing these polluted air. And also, like I told you about PM 2.5, this is the particulate matter, which is very small particles. PM 10 are a little big particles. So when you breathe those particles, it stays up to lungs. But then when you're breathing those smaller particles, it goes beyond your lungs and mixes with the blood also. So that is actually more harmful than the bigger particles. So I was talking about that why air pollution is happening, why like from what are the standards that our central government has actually designed. So this is a table which is giving you the annual standards and the 24-hour standards for different pollutants. But then like the Indian standards are right now, like for example, is 60 microgram per meter cube. But then when we talk about globally, so globally these same standards are just 15 microgram. So there is a vast difference in the WHO standards, the global standards, and the Indian standards. And our cities are like 2 or 3 times more than our Indian standards. So this gives you a broad guidelines as to what are the associated health impacts when you see different color category of pollution. Like there are billboards at many places which are displaying whether the air quality in your city is in a green category or in a yellow category or in a red category. And these will be further explained to you by Dr. Bagai also in the next session. So like this data which you are seeing on the screen, the red bar that you can see, it gives you a broad idea about there are so many cities which are falling under the critical category of pollutant. Critical category means when the pollution level in your respective city is more than 1.5 times the standard. So, how this air quality is being monitored? Like when you hear that the AQI for your city is maybe 100 or 200 or 300. So like these are being monitored by two kind of monitoring stations in each of the cities. There is continuous monitoring station, which gives you data at every 15 minutes. And the other is the manual monitoring stations, which give you data twice in a week. So right now it's just 10% of the Indian cities and towns which are covered under this monitoring system. So we like the cities are not even generating enough data for us to understand exactly how many cities are actually breathing these polluted air. So this graph is telling you that what kind of emissions are harmful to you and what kind is a little better. So when I was talking about the PM 2.5 and PM 10, like the smaller particles are more harmful. So when there are combustion sources, so combustion sources includes uh, vehicles, industries, power plant, so these emit more harmful particles compared to the dust which is being generated. So why in winter every year people talk about air pollution? Summers may it's fine, like it's better, you can easily breathe in, because there are different conditions, like the pollution level is there, but then the meteorological conditions are also very much unfavorable for the situation. So in winters, what happens is there is a cold air near the ground surface. So it doesn't allow the movement of pollutants which is being generated at the ground. So when these pollutants cannot disperse, cannot mix in the air, so you tend to breathe more polluted air compared to what you're breathing in summers. So this graph is basically like on the left side on the axis, there are different kind of cities. So this graph is basically telling you that winters are more polluted than the summers, and there is a similar trend across India that winter, like in winters, there is more pollution. So we have a mandate which is present that there is air pollution that is happening. Then how government can actually control this kind of pollution is through government has identified different cities which needs to prepare an action plan. Like what kind of action planning should be there, what kind of sources you need to control in your respective cities. uh, so NGT, the National Green Tribunal, the court has given an order to make action plan for different cities, and they have identified 134 cities where monitoring was happening, where there was pollution. So now they have been told by 2026 that they need to reduce the current pollution level by 40%. So, when we talk about which city needs to reduce what kind of pollution, the government is asking the cities to reduce the pollution by 40%. So, this gives you a general trend as to like the cities that are present in the northern India are little more polluted than the other cities, and they need to reduce more pollution than the other cities. So when the action planning has begun, the court has asked, the government is asking you to prepare that how you can reduce pollution from each sources. So these are the parameters on which, for example, for industries, power plants, a city needs to prepare their own action plan. So there were certain kind of actions that are already in place. The first generation that happened in around 2000, the second generation which happened till 2015, and then there is a third generation of actions. So at different level, there are different kind of actions which are being taken place. So when we talk about Delhi, that Delhi is highly polluted and what Delhi has done, how Delhi is reducing its pollution. But then year after year, we see that the condition of smog is getting worse. So this is the graph which tells you that since 2015, Delhi has already reduced its pollution level by 25%. But then there is another 65% that we need to reduce to meet these standards. So when like everybody knew that during COVID, everything was shut down, the whole country was in a lockdown phase. So at that time, actually 44% of the cities in India witnessed a good and a satisfactory. It means a better air quality was there during the lockdown than compared to the other normal days. So, what can we do at our level and at home, at school? So the things that we can do is the carpooling. Like instead of going by a different individual cars, we can just carpool from a same area. We can take care of the maintenance of those vehicles, whether like we need to regularly check that our vehicle is not polluting, is not emitting any black smoke. And there is this annual certificate that a vehicle has to be issued. So for like the PUC, the pollution under control certificate. So these are being annually renewed, and if required, we should switch to public transport system, the buses, metros, or if it's close by, we can just walk and cycle to our schools. And whenever you can witness a burning of waste and whatever like that is happening close to your schools, you should be vigilant enough and you should complain about these things, whatever like the pollution is happening close to your space. and also by saving energy. Like, for example, if for an unwanted fan or a light, you can just switch it off and use it when only it's required. And also, we can just switch to alternate energy sources. So, for example, there is solar energy, there is wind energy. So, that is how we can switch to alternate energy sources to reduce the current electricity which is being generated by the coal, which is a polluting fuel. So let's just make the skies bluer and cleaner for us and for all of us, actually. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Shambhavi, for this wonderful and for very informative session on what air pollution is and telling us about its constituents. I think our kids will be more aware now. I now would welcome Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. We have and so I would like to tell you a lot about Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai is an internationally acclaimed pediatrician. He's a nephrologist and he is a health administrator as well. He has a very long and illustrious career. He completed his MBBS and MD in pediatry from the KEM Hospital, Bombay. He was also a Merit Scholar there and was also Sir Dorabji Tata Merit Scholar in his university. He received Vashisht Chikitsa Ratna and also a gold medal from the Bombay University. Then he proceeded on to pursue higher qualifications in the US from the New York University and was also associated with the University of Delaware. Currently, he is also visiting faculty member in the US and Canada. During his career, he has received numerous awards. Among them are the Distinguished Award of Excellence and Lifetime Achievement Awards from the Indian Medical Association, from the NIER, and from the Global Health Summit. He has also received the Times Award for Medical Innovation, the Times Award for Medical Achievement. He's been among the global top 100 innovators. He has also been awarded with the World Health Congress Innovation Award, and he has received various research awards and an International Leadership Award. Further, he has been the CEO of the Patra Hospital in New Delhi and has been the Dean of the Manipal Hospital. Most importantly, he has been awarded the highest presidential awards in our country, the Dr. B.C. Roy Presidential Award and the Padma Shri. I will now request Dr. Bagai to please address our audience and enlighten them with what are the medical effects of air pollution on our health.
Thank you for your kind words. So am I audible?
Yes, sir, perfectly.
Okay, and is the audience mainly school students as a mix and non-school students, or?
Yes, sir, we are mostly school kids over here, and most of them are from class 3 to 10.
Okay, wonderful. So let's begin today's topic, which is basically on air pollution. First off, I think all the citizens of India and especially the school children must understand that your health, your family's health, your neighbors and relatives' health, and your community at large health is non-negotiable. Every citizen has a right, every citizen has a voice, and it's extremely important to make your voice heard. It's a sad sight to see pollution at this level, and mind you, it's not only a specific exclusive winter phenomena. It is something which we see all through the year. The levels are much above the accepted norms. Winter, it gets exaggerated, so therefore we talk about it a lot more. But the fact is, almost 365 days a year, especially in metros and in crowded areas, the air is not of good quality. So when you're looking at the real impact in terms of statistics, more than 2 million deaths in India occur annually directly due to air pollution. That's a huge number of deaths because of air pollution. And I've said this in various platforms that air pollution is actually just not an entity visible or invisible. It's actually now should be classified as a disease. Very often, I give this example that decades back, obesity was considered a complication or an end point, but now it is classified as a disease. So air pollution is a very, very important aspect which we need to address going forward. It directly causes what we call as non-communicable diseases. When you talk in terms of non-communicable diseases, these are diseases like hypertension, asthma, chronic obstructive lung disease, cancers, and so on. And almost 60% of non-communicable diseases precipitate death in India. So if you look at the overall statistics of the overall death rate in India, more than 60% of them are because of NCDs, non-communicable diseases. Now, air pollution maximum impact, unfortunately, is on children, especially the small children, the elderlies, and people who have comorbids. So comorbid is conditions which we call as pre-existing medical conditions, things like people who have heart disease, lung disease, cancers, kidney disease, who are on immunosuppressant therapy. That means you're taking medication to suppress some inflammatory disorder in your body. At an average, a human being can lose, because of chronic exposure to air pollution, almost 8 or 10 years of your lifespan. So if you live in clean air, like in rest parts of the world, you can actually live, let's say, till 80 or 85 or 90, and God willing, beyond 90. But here you are tending to lose almost 8 or 10 years of your life because you die early. It is also mentioned in various studies, and I'll mention these studies so that you can actually really get an impact of what research has been done on it. Every 10% increase in PM 2.5 levels, which is your particulate matter in the air, you have a twofold increase in cardiopulmonary metabolic deaths. That means ailments of your heart, lung, and metabolism of the body. Where does your air pollution impact the body? Perhaps every possible organ. In the heart, it causes heart attacks, it causes disturbance in your heart rhythm, hypertension. In your lungs, asthma, bronchitis, pneumonias, wheezing, respiratory distress, chronic changes in your lung, what we call as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. In your brain, strokes, bleeding in your brains, dementia, memory loss, behavioral disorders, aggression, mood swings, cancers of your lung, brain, stomach, pancreas, kidneys, bladder. It also involves and directly affects pregnancies. Young mothers who are expecting their babies, you can have pregnancy loss, stillbirths, premature births. That means babies who are born much before your 9 months, what we call as full-term pregnancy. Eclampsia, that means hypertension in pregnancy, diabetes in pregnancies. It impacts the fetus because the fetus turn out to be a lot smaller and they turn out to be a lot earlier born than otherwise. You can also have genetic disorders. You can have changes in your chromosome. Your DNA is damaged because of the pollutants, and you can be born with congenital malformations, which include disorders and malformations of your kidneys, of your heart, of your baby's brain. Newborns show growth disorders, chronic infections, the baby's immunity gets lowered. You have cognitive disorders. Cognitive disorders means things which we normally don't address and measure. Cognitive means memory, behavior, mood swings, and so on. It impacts your bone. It's a direct precipitator for diabetes and obesity. Your overall metabolism is harmed because of air pollution. You have genetic disorders, skin allergies, dermatitis, rashes. You have sore eyes. It is not unusual for children and adults also, and especially the elderly, to have redness in the eyes if you are long time exposed to this kind of pollutants. Corneal damage, tonsillitis, ear infections, throat infections. Your mental health is affected. Your liver and intestines are affected. You have kidney disorders, immune dysfunctions. You can also have blood clots in various parts of your body, including your legs, your lungs, and your brain, different kind of allergies. Your air also contains what we call as nanoplastic or microplastic. This is an important aspect which is not often touched upon. And this also is a contributor towards air pollution. And these kind of ingredients which are there in plastic, basically bisphenol A as an ingredient, these are highly carcinogenic and they are anti-estrogen. That means they're anti-hormone. So they cause infertility, premature births, cancers, diabetes, hypertension, and a variety of other disorders. So these kind of nanoplastic, microplastics are anti-hormonal. So they destroy your own hormonal immunity in the body. And of course, it causes a host of viral and bacterial infections. So therefore, you see that there is practically no organ in the body which is spared because of the harmful effects of air pollution. Heart disease in India itself causes more than 5 million deaths per year. Respiratory disorders, more than 1.8 million deaths a year. Strokes, more than 1.7 per year. Cancers, more than 4 million cases have been seen in the last 3 years in India and 2.5 million deaths. What are the causes? My previous panelist has briefly mentioned them in a very nice manner. Crop burning, at least this year, is one of the major contributors towards air pollution, especially in areas of Delhi NCR. Vehicular use and abuse, road dust, wrong, old, outdated construction norms, industrial fumes, and fossil burning. Now, when you look at air pollution, we very often check what we call as PM 2.5. But like my previous speaker has just mentioned, PM 2.5 is just one amongst the hundreds of wrong elements in the air which are causing us harm. So the contents of air pollution are particulate matter, which is PM 2.5, PM 5, PM 10. And this is what we call as micro measurements. Smaller the particulate size, deeper the particles go into your lungs. So PM 10 can get filtered in your nose, in your throat, but PM 2.5 can go deep into your lungs, what we call as into your bronchioles and alveoli, where your air exchange takes place in your lungs. Therefore, your breathing difficulty. You have harmful gases such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitric oxide, methane, benzene. These are all highly carcinogenic. Then you have hydrofluorocarbons. You have volatile organic compounds. You have various other carcinogens, which are equivalent to or worse than even cigarette smoke. You have heavy metals in the air, which you can't see, like lead, arsenic, antimony. You have road dust. You have things like smoke and fog and a greenhouse effect. A greenhouse effect is an oxidification of various organic compounds, which cause what we call as acid rain. So students, please read on acid rain. It's a part also of climate change. Then you have oxidized ozone. So we are losing the ozone layer on top of the earth, which is not good. You have reactive compounds which cause body harm. You have radioactive waste and biohazard aerosolized droplets. So these are biohazard droplets which are so small that a naked eye can't see. Once you start inhaling these kind of pollutants in the body, a vast majority of changes set in. And it's important to understand the timeline when these changes set in. So various parts of your blood cells in your body, called as macrophages, there is a lot of inflammatory molecules released, called as cytokines, interleukins, which then go on to damage almost all parts of your body. Now, these also contain what we call as free radicals and pro-oncogens. So these go and damage your cell. They impact your DNA of your chromosome, and these can cause long-term cancers. Your ingredients in pollutants can also cause insulin resistance. So you can precipitate diabetes, and people, unfortunately, who are diabetic on insulin don't react that well because of the air pollution. It precipitates obesity, it causes lung fibrosis, and it causes lipid disorders in your body. These are extremely, extremely harmful. And in your lungs, there is a particular type of cell called as pneumocystis. That's where your oxygenation takes place. And type 2 pneumocystis are the one which are harmed the most. Why do children get impacted much more than, let's say, young adults or adolescents or people in the age of 20s, 30s, 40s? The reason is that children have a much smaller lung capacity. So you have two lungs, your right lung and your left lung, and each lung is divided into different lobes. Children's lung capacity, that means your size of your lung and your exchange volume of air, is much lesser than adults. They have an immature immune system. That means you are still developing your immune system. And you have a low clearance of the particulate matter from your nose. The reason is children, by and large, breathe not only from the nose, but also from the mouth. So if you're breathing from the mouth, it goes directly impacting your lungs. Children breathing rate, what we call as respiratory rate, is higher than adults. So your adult breathing rate is about 15 to 16 breaths per minute. Smaller infants breathe up to 30 to 35, and young children can breathe up to 20 to 25 breaths per minute. So you inhale a lot more. More respiratory rate per minute is more number of breaths per minute, more pollutions and pollutants you inhale every minute. And especially the children who are school going generally leave school when the fog and the smog is the densest. That's about 6:37 or 7:30. Very often children have to walk it to school or take school buses, public transport. Very often the buses don't have the windows closed. They are stuck at traffic jams for many, many minutes, and they inhale these fumes. It's important to keep 3 points in mind, that even children during the pollutants, not only because of COVID-19, what we call as SARS-CoV-2, please wear a mask. It will prevent a great amount of particulate matter inhalation. Please wear a mask, especially when you're going to school or coming back from school. The young adults, especially the peak traffic hours, try to modulate your timing so that your timing is staggered, and follow a hybrid model of online and offline. I think the world has understood that you don't have to be physically present all the time to show that you're doing work. Work can be done from every part of the world because of the digital platform and technology. Promote public transport. I think it's important, and the government also, in at least the major metros, must focus on giving world-class public transport, which is safe. Electrical vehicles is a big norm now, which is coming in worldwide. In India also, we are seeing a lot of surge of electric vehicles. Your vehicles can't be more than 10 or 15 years old, depending upon petrol or diesel. One diesel SUV car or a larger car is equal to, in pollution, 100 petrol cars. That's the equation. One diesel SUV car pollutes as much as 100 petrol cars. So diesel is not good as a combustion fuel for vehicles to be plying on the road. Road dust is important, and the civic authorities must learn that not only the center part of the road needs to be tarred or cemented, it's the entire stretch. If you have a road of about 30 feet wide, you will invariably see that about 20-22 feet will be tarred and 3-4 feet on either side is left open. That gathers dust. Dust is not good. Crop burning must stop. It's a crime against humanity. Industries should have a separate zone. They can't have it within the major cities because they are a major cause of pollutants. Construction norms need to be revised and updated. You can't have construction anywhere and everywhere at any point of time. The norms of the building must move towards green building norms. So there are certifications which are given. And even the residential homes which are being built now must work towards creating smarter buildings, not the old type of construction and old type of maintenance. And look for alternative energy, what we call as solar energy. Now, in the last few minutes, I want to enumerate. There are lots and lots of studies. So many people ask me, Dr. Bagai, Is there any data which is available? Is this data published? Is this data peer reviewed? Is this data validated? Yes, all the answers to your questions, which I mentioned, is a big yes, resounding yes. The Lancet Journal of Medicine in November 2022 has overwhelmingly declared that PM 2.5 is harmful. 10 micrograms per meter cube of air. Now the norm has been decreased to an exposure to 5. So they have decreased the exposure level. We know that a 24-hour exposure of more than 15 micrograms per meter cube, that's your total pollutant exposure, is harmful even within the first 5 to 10 minutes. If you are exposed for more than a day, you start having short to mid-term complications. The risk of long-term impact of this is increased by 5 to 10% increase in incidence of heart attack, heart failure, and lung infections. Even if you decrease PM 2.5 by 1 microgram, just 1 microgram, you decrease the risk of heart attacks by 8%. Just imagine, if you decrease the PM 2.5 by 3 micrograms, just 3 micrograms, you decrease heart attack risk of 30%. That's overwhelmingly clear that pollution control saves lives. The trigger for pollution in the body can begin within 1 hour of exposure and increase your risk of heart attacks and indeed cardiac arrest. Then there are studies which have been published from Singapore, again in Lancet in November 22, in which carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide has been measured. Even a 3 to 6% increase in carbon monoxide is sufficient to increase twofold. That means 2 times more risk of disturbances in your heart rate and heart attacks and stroke. Mexico City has again published data. 26 cities pool data in US has shown PM 2.5 disrupts your hormones to precipitate obesity. A particular protein in your body known as leptin is increased, which causes obesity. It disrupts your lipid metabolism and causes thromboembolism. Thromboembolism means small blood clots in your arteries and veins, which can clog your blood vessels in your legs, in your arms, in your lungs, in your heart, in your brain. Carbon monoxide again has been linked to increase in just 4.6 parts per billion. Increase gives you a 13 to 16% increase in mortality. The last important point I want to mention is we very often continue to talk of outdoor air pollution. Indoor air pollution is also extremely important to address because the elderlies or the women in the house or the children at night are spending 10 to 12 hours a day. So old, outdated air purifiers can be harmful. So please get your updated air purifiers. Your walls, painting and building materials can gather mold, which we call as fungus. That's a major contribution to indoor air pollution. Construction with asbestos has been banned for the last 3 decades, but I dare say there are still constructions which are happening which use asbestos. Asbestos damages your lungs and hearts. More importantly, buildings which are not maintained well have what we call as oxidized aerosol particles in the air. So you continue to breathe wrong air, causing more harm. The number of cycles of exchange of air per hour is recommended, and these vary between 3 to 5 minimum. So your ACs also these days have become smarter ACs in which you recycle and cycle your air and air exchanges more number of times. The filtering power is much better, what we call as your HVAC system of your building or your AC system of your building. So I think each and every citizen has a role to play, has a voice to be heard. It's important that this becomes a movement, not only in cities, not only in one city, but pan-India. We have to all contribute towards maintaining our planet green, having a more pure air to breathe, not only for our generation, but for generations to come. Over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bagai. I think that we all had a very informative session. We learned a lot about all the various medical impacts of air pollution on our kids. I would now open the session for a Q&A round. I see a lot of hands being raised. Sadhna has her hand raised from the very beginning. Sadhna, what's your query? And please tell us where are you from, which class do you study in?
I am from Guraj School and I am 4th standard.
Okay.
I can't understand what he's telling. That's what my doubt.
Who do you refer to? Do you refer to the bits on air pollution?
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot being explained. I think. Can you please specify your query a little? Can you tell us which part did not understand?
What he said, only I can't understand a bit.
Okay. I will request you to specify your query a little, and maybe you can email it to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I will unmute Janvi right now. Janvi, you seem to have a query for us, and you were quite attentively listening to our session. Please tell us, where are you from?
I'm in grade 5 and I'm from Chennai.
Okay, so Janvi, you are coming all the way from Chennai. Please raise your volume and please ask your question.
My question is, how much of the air in Chennai is polluted?
Okay, so I think this question can be better answered by Shambhavi. Shambhavi, she is asking how much of the air in Chennai is polluted. Can you give? Can you respond to her, please?
Yeah. Hi, Janvi. So, Chennai has, I think, 5-6 monitoring stations which are present, which are monitoring the air. And right now, Chennai has a better air quality compared to the cities which are present in the northern India. And though it is not reaching the standard, it's not below the standard, but then still it's better. But then, especially the vulnerable group, that is the kids and the elderly, will still be impacted because of the air pollution. Even the smallest air pollution will impact the health of those people. So though pollution is at a little better scale, but then it's still polluted.
Thanks, Shambhavi. Our next question is from Shashank. Shashank, you wanted to ask a question. Please go ahead and tell us what you want to ask.
I'm actually confused in the word lip tip.
Sorry?
The word lip tip.
The word lip dip. Okay. I think this must be a medical term.
Okay. So, yeah. So the word actually is called as leptin, Leptin. Leptin is a protein hormone in the body. If it is released in excess quantity, or if your fat metabolism in your body is dysregulated, disrupted, or becomes abnormal, then a person becomes fat excessively, called as obesity. So the pollution contains molecules which disrupts this mechanism to precipitate obesity. Obesity means when a child or an adult becomes excessively fat, in which your BMI, body metabolic index, exceeds the set norms or standards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bagai. Akshita also has a question. Akshita, you have your hand raised. Please tell us, where are you from and which class do you study in? And then ask your question. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm studying in Goodard School. I'm from Chennai.
Can you be a little louder?
I'm studying in Goodard School. I'm from Chennai and I'm 4th standard.
Okay, and what's the question?
I can't understand what he said.
Who? I think we have really young audience over here. Akshita, why don't you write your query to me and email it to me?
Okay.
Yeah. We have another query from Vaisharav Sai. Vaisharav?
Yeah, I represent the school Goodard.
Okay.
And my doubt is I can't understand where he told you may get a heart attack or a heart failure. I can't understand that part. As
Okay.
to what reason you get those problems.
All right. So I think Dr. Bagai, Vaishrav wants to ask, how does air pollution causes heart attack, or how is it related to that?
So what happens is that when you have basically 2 or 3 harmful ingredients, one is your toxic gases and fumes. So things like carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitric oxide, what we call as SOx or NOx, these are harmful, and so does PM 2.5, which is the particulate matter, or other biohazard aerosols. These are small little bubbles which you can't see through a naked eye. They are absorbed from your lungs, they enter into your body mainstream in terms of your metabolism, and they disrupt your cells, including your cardiac, means your heart cells, and your pneumocytes, that means your lung cells. When you cause this disruption of your cell membrane, various hormones, proteins, enzymes are released in excessive quantity. These are called as cytokines. If everyone will remember, during COVID-19, when lungs got impacted, it was called as cytokine storm. So it's the same cytokines which damage the heart, the lungs.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, over to you.
Okay, sir. Prakriti? Prakriti, do you want to ask a question? Please tell us where.
My sir had said one acid rain. What is this acid rain?
Well, that's a homework for you. You will have to find it out.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
All of you all read on greenhouse gases and acid rain, okay? And then you send an email back to the organizers and they will gauge your knowledge, okay?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Nirav, Nirav Nanda Prasad. Nirav Nanda, you have raised your hand. Please tell us which class are you in and where are you from and what's your question?
I'm from Goodard School in Chennai. I'm in 4th standard.
All right.
Naduvirapattu Goodard School.
Sorry?
I was from Naduvirapattu Goodard School.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't understand that bit, but what's your question?
It's not actually a question. I wanted to tell you something actually.
What?
I wanted to tell you I wanted to tell you something.
What is it?
I know that smog is smoke and fog together.
They make smog, yes. Have you seen smog?
No.
No? Okay, I think then you are very lucky and you shouldn't, that's not a pleasant sight anyway. I'm sorry, my video got disrupted. So I'll then proceed on to some more questions. We have Kavya. Kavya Dhiravyam, are you there with us?
Yes, ma'am, I am, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible. It would be nice if you can switch on your video also. Please tell us which class do you study in, and then you can pose your question.
Okay, ma'am. I'm Kavya. I'm from Chennai, and I'm in grade 8. So,
Okay.
like, in the light of the recent COP27 meeting, like, all the countries have been told to try to reduce their carbon emissions, and India being a developing country, yeah, India also agrees to this but like on the other hand, we're just developing country, and we also want to develop our transport sector, and we also want to develop economically. And to do this, we need to like emit a lot of carbon and a lot of greenhouse gases. And another solution is like we can also do this like the green way, like a clean way, but like we need a lot of cash for that, and we're just a developing country. And plus to produce like all like solar panels and like a lot of other technology, we're also going to need to mine rare metals, and this will also result in carbon emissions. So what's the best path for us? That's my question.
Well, it's great, Kavya, that you've been following COP27. I think at grade 8, you're very young and aware. Shambhavi, would you like to answer this, or Dr. Bagai, any one of you could take up this question?
Yes, so I can just explain a little. Like for the carbon emissions, when we talk about, like, we need to reduce emissions from different sectors, be it transport, be it industries, or be it any other. So, like, for example, for transport sector, I'll give you, like, we are switching to electric vehicles now. But then, like, what we need to do is, there are electric vehicles present, but then the energy to charge those vehicles is coming from coal right now. So we need to decarbonize that sector also. So the industry sector. So we need, like, the power should be generated from a clean fuel. That's solar energy and maybe wind energy, hydroelectric energy, like the form of renewable sources. So for that, we like, you were talking about the budget that needs to be like used for these kinds of transition. So there are different taxes which are imposed, and you might not be aware of those kind of taxes which are present right now. So like, for example, in Delhi, if we talk about, there are 3, 4 taxes through which it's an air ambience fund which is being generated. So it's from the SUV diesel vehicles. Some taxes are coming on from the diesel fuel that people are using. They need to pay a certain amount of money, and also from the trucks which are entering to Delhi. So there are also taxes which is being generated and collected, and it is being kept for to work on reducing the air pollution. So these kinds of funds can be used along with when we are transitioning to the cleaner vehicles. So that is how the whole system can work together.
Okay,
Yeah,
ma'am.
over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
We have an excited audience, and they do have a couple of more questions. We'll take a few more questions. Atmananthan, do you want to ask your question? Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yes, I would like to ask this. Is nitrogen harmful?
Okay. So,
yeah, in excess quantity, yes, it is harmful. Likewise, carbon monoxide in excess quantity is harmful. So all the gases have set standard and norms as to the concentration per microgram or meter cube of air. So there are norms which are available. If the level is more than that, then depending upon how bad the pollution is, the harm keeps increasing.
But in one video called Dr. Bina, but it says 75% of the earth has nitrogen and just 25% only oxygen has. Then is nitrogen useful too, or oxygen is?
All the gases have a set ratio. They have to work in a particular proportion. So it's like each one has a particular share, a percentage share of contribution. If that share increases, then the equation becomes wrong.
Thank you.
Kavin, you are the second last person. Please ask us your question. We will take one last query after that. Kavin, yeah.
My question is, how many cities are polluted in India?
All right. So, Shambhavi, would you like to answer this? I think it would be on your fingertips.
Yeah, so if you've seen a slide I've showed you, only 10% of cities right now in India are being monitored. So out of those 10 cities, 10% of the cities, none of the cities is following the Indian standards. So like mostly all the cities are polluted. Hardly there are times in a year when, especially during rainy season and things, the pollution comes down to breathable level and comes down below the standard in some of the cities.
We will now ask our last question for the day. Dakshin Ajay Jija Balaji, are you there? You have raised your hand. Do you want to ask a question or do you want to make a comment? Dakshin Ajay, are you there? You can unmute yourself and ask us your question.
I want to say something, and
Yes.
I'm from Tamil Nadu.
And which class?
Class 4, and I'm from Gudat.
Okay, I think we really want to thank the teachers of Good Earth School. We have a very healthy audience from your school. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, please, Dakshin, please ask your question.
Okay, so more than 100 countries agreed on to stop using CFCs for the atmosphere, and it was very close to be destroyed. The atmosphere was very close to destroyed in 2050, like they said. But the countries stopped using them, so everything is okay now. The atmospheres, they're fine. And
okay, so I think I get your point. You want to make a comment on how all the countries of the world agreed to reduce CFCs, and we definitely see its impact with the ozone, with the hole in the ozone layer getting ameliorated a little, and the global efforts are required to combat air pollution in a big way. It's really interesting to see a very young child like you in class 4 to be aware of international conferences like these on methane and CFC, which have been held over a time. And I'm really delighted to have a very aware audience like you today. I think we will now proceed towards closing our session. Whosoever has a query, please email it to us. Our email ID is young@downtoearth.org. I especially want to thank Shambhavi for taking out time for giving us your presentation today and for telling our kids the details on air pollution. I most particularly want to thank Dr. Sanjeev Bagai for accepting our invite, for taking out time from your busy schedule and for addressing our audience. I think we are really blessed and honored to have you today. And our kids have learned a lot from you. Thank you so much for joining us. I will unmute all of you and then you can say your goodbyes and thank yous to everybody.
Thank you and lots of love to all the children. You all look beautiful.
bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good afternoon. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye,
Bye,
sir.
ma'am.
Bye.
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 Bye, ma'am. Phone करते हैं. On कर. Bye.